YouTube, it's Brian Phillips coming with something amazing. You've already seen this probably in my videos. This is the XBC 100 Smart Checker, also known as a voltage tester, and it's awesome actually. It's really awesome, seriously, except for the protective cover that you put over the screen. I took mine off because I did such a crappy job putting it on. Check the link in the description below, buy your own. This is the type of tool that should be in every RC tool bag. And I don't have any problem with the little voltage testers. It costs about $3 to $10 or whatever you're spending for them. But this thing is so much better, and I'm going to show you a couple of different reasons why right now. Starting with, we've got a bunch of different variety of packs here, and you may notice that I have some adapters and things here. The reason I wanted to show you some stuff is because these are things I'm figuring out. It was supposed to come in my first shipment, but it was back ordered, so I waited on it. So these are the connectors to go to these are IC5s, okay? So IC5s have the extra pin in the middle, and that's for the smart pin there. And then you've got the regular discharge leads. And look at those spark marks, guys. These things are juicy. And then of course you got your regular HXT, JST, HX balance charge plug. So this is on a 6S, so it's got 7 pins. So ground and then 6 additional positives. Okay, so you've got that, and then of course you've got, you know, the series of 3S, and then this would be a 4S, so kind of same thing. So we'll start with the smallest pack just so you can see kind of how things work. This is cool. I favor XT60 connectors for a reason that I don't like the EC connectors, because you have to pull them in, and it's extremely difficult to build them because of that reason. These ones you just solder, and then you slide this little cover over, which is super nice, and that would mean that it's removable. So you slide that back, and you only have so much that you have to cover up, which is super nice. You don't have to waste heat shrink, which is really nice. I always hated the heat shrink part on the XT60s. Now, I did not like the EC5, I did not like the EC3, so I typically would cut them off. Well, the thing is, as you guys already know, these things don't necessarily mate up well with the female XT60s. I don't even think it's a female, but either way, you get them in there, but you're working them. So be aware of that. This thing is awesome, guys. Let's talk about why it's awesome. Okay, so now that you've seen that, that's just the IC5. Now, why do you have IC5 ends? Because as you'll notice, this is an IC5 end, and then this is an IC3 end. Okay, so the 3 fits into the smart charger. Okay, so you can use an EC or an IC in this. Of course, it comes up with your display, immediately shows the temperature. You don't have to do any special modifications. And then of course you got your balance charge plug, which you can also just plug that in alone. Okay, now I don't want to go breaking this thing for the video, but I believe you can actually plug these in wrong and it will warn you. Okay, but again, I don't want to figure out I did it wrong. Okay, so there's a USB charge is the first option, then a Servo Test 1520, I think that's microseconds, and then Servo Test 760 microseconds. Servo Test Setup, that's the steps are 1 microsecond at a time, which I'll show you that later. And then there's a cell balance you can start, and then it goes back, okay? That's when you have the balance and the discharge lead plugged in, which this has the extra cable because this is an IC3 connection. So just to be clear, you can have that unplugged and still operate this unit. It's going to beep at you and do some different things. So let's show you on a regular non-smart pack. Of course, these things are going to work for non-smart packs too, but you're not going to be able to plug in the balance lead without adapters, okay? So you have to build your adapters if you're using things like XT60s. So I'm going to just plug this in. The negative goes all the way up next to this. Now, the way you can remember that is because when you plug this in, you basically have to have this right next to it, okay? So you plug that in, it comes up with the smart technology, and it gives you your balance lead. Look at the resolution you're getting there.
Hold on a second.
Look at the resolution. You're going out to 3 decimals past 0, which is awesome. And you can go into the menu structure here as well, okay? So why don't we test the USB charge function? So we'll just go into that. And you're like, why doesn't that work? Okay, well, I'll show you why. I believe that doesn't work because you have to have the balance discharge plugged in. See? And then it goes to like a purpley color. And I have my contrast set at the highest setting, so you may notice the exposure is a little bit goofy. So I grabbed a variety of different things to test real quick for us. This is, these are out of some like F-22 Chinese little planes, got low CNs on them. So you got these weird, you know, chargers like this. Of course, you could probably come up with an adapter that would allow you to do some charging. But the cool thing is you can charge this at the field. You can plug this USB-A into this end here, and then you can charge your smart devices like your cell phone or whatever. Well, I don't really think I'm gonna be charging my cell phone, but if you have one of the newer Spektrum radios, I believe they come with chargers that are like this. So you can see right here, it shows there's 0 amps and 0 watts. That's pretty cool because look what happens. Watch this, guys. You actually have feedback now. You can tell there's 2.1 watts going through this. That is super cool. Now watch this. I'm gonna stick a second one in. And if you stick 2 in at the same time, sometimes they'll squeal. See this? Look at that, pretty sweet. Now this one must be charged because it's not making the light go on. Or it's so screwed up that it's like dead, okay? Let's see if we can get the exposure right. So that's pretty awesome, guys. All right, guys, so what we're gonna do is we'll unplug that now, and basically you'll notice that the meter shuts back to what it was, and then you have to kind of like long press this. And then you can go to your servo test, and you'll notice I don't have the balance lead plugged in. I just have the discharge lead plugged in. Okay, so servo test start. Now you can have the balance lead plugged in too. We'll just grab this little handy dandy servo that I have prepared. This is not a Spektrum equipment at all. So the negative side is just gonna go right here. It's kind of marked, it's closer to the USB port. You can see if you're looking close, but it's very hard to get it on camera because of the black cabinet, okay? So obviously that sprung to life. Oops, hold on. We'll go back into servo test. I'm gonna reboot this. Can you go to the other side?
Yeah.
All right, so then I'm gonna try to walk in. There we go. You see how when I press it, it moves. It gives you feedback of how many microseconds it's changing in the pulse width modulation, and it shows the amp draw, which is really nice, guys. You see that? Now watch this. Now you can see the amp draw. Look at that, 38 milliamps. Now watch this. Watch that load. Look at that. See that, guys? You see that? It's showing you I'm drawing half an amp before it goes to overload, okay? I don't know if that's a good thing for Spektrum, but it's a good thing for Emacs because that's pretty good. But anyway, that's really cool because if you have like a lot of binding going on, you're gonna be able to tell by how much it's drawing compared to another servo. That's really nice. Now, you can also stop it and you can walk it 1 microsecond at a time, which is crazy because it'll barely move, okay? It's barely moving, okay, as you can see. Now, when I long press this to go back, I can go back into the menu structure, and then I can go up to, I have noticed that I have to reboot this occasionally. I don't know if it's because I got water on this, because we just tried to take our protector off, because it was driving me nuts. Now, if you go to the wrong speed, it's gonna do weird things to your servos. Just see. See that? It's only running a small range. So you don't really want to do that because you'll screw up your servo potentially. So I'm just going to test it for you guys at home. Now you can set your microsecond step up to 20. And I assume that's a mu, even though it's a U, because it's a mu is for micro, I believe. Oh, it's so frustrating. See, the best thing I can tell you is just reboot it. It's easier than trying to figure out what's going wrong. Which, speaking of what's going wrong, there is a USB port on here. This is a USB micro, and there's a USB-A. The USB-A is for charging other smart devices. The USB micro is for updating the firmware, which I'm assuming they probably are gonna have to do a firmware update because I've had a couple of different glitchy things, but it's not like a big deal. Okay, so as you can see, it's working. So I'm gonna set it to the auto test like this. See if you can give them a better view of that. So that's pretty awesome. Now, where was I going with this? Oh, the steps are 20 microseconds now. See that? Because we just changed that. Okay. So that's what I wanted to show you. So I'll long press that and go back. Now you can press down and it shows you the information about it. Oh, it's in Celsius. That's super helpful. Or that's 30C. I was going to say, when did it go to Celsius? 87 degrees Fahrenheit. So I kind of wanted to test this pack just to show you what would happen when the temperature changes, because basically there's a temperature meter inside of this. What do we call a temperature meter, camera crew? Oh, a thermometer. Oh, yeah, that's right. So basically that is all being calculated and tabulated inside of this pack. So just for exposure reasons, I'm going to unplug that. So this thing, I mean, it's not perfect, but it's pretty stinking awesome because, to be honest with you, the price point puts it to where it's about the same as just getting a voltage tester and, you know, like a servo tester. I have historically not been very good about testing servos when I'm hooking up my systems because I usually basically hook up the receiver and then I do it all. Well, funny you should say that because on that very little A10 over there, wait, don't film that yet. That A10, I accidentally flipped one of the wires and I would have caught it. I clipped it out of the video. You may have noticed because it went from sunny to dark. Well, if I would have done something like this, it would have resolved that problem instead of having to take off the tail section. Luckily, the tail section came off without any hitch and it was super easy. So those are 3 or 4 functions. Now, the primary function that you need from this device, and I have another thing to go over too, is basically you can set up your batteries, okay? One of the best things that you're gonna get when you get smart technology is that these things will auto discharge. And you're like, wow, I don't want my batteries dead, Brian. Okay, cautionary tell time. Oh yeah, look at that fat pack. This is a 5S pack. Yeah, zippy compact, 40C. This was an expensive battery. I got this for a plane that my grandpa built who's now passed away. And it was the, which one is a SIG biplane, and I forget what it's called now.
Is it the red one?
Yeah, it's the red and yellow one. But anyway, I don't remember what it's called. I feel kind of bad about that, but it's on my playlist if you want to see it fly. So we got to fly it before he passed away, which is pretty cool. But just cautionary tell. Look how awesome this pack is since I charged it and let it sit for 3 years. Okay. Oh yeah, look how well that's balanced. That's super fancy. And it's also mostly discharged. So I'm going to tell you right now what's going to happen is this cell will never, you'll never get these cells balanced, guys. So I'll show you what it would look like if we were going to try it. We would hit start and then it's going to attempt to balance the cells. This will never balance. And the reason it won't balance is not because this thing is not good. It's awesome. What's bad is this thing and the chemistry on each and every one of those lipos, because there's 5 lithium polymer cells that are in series, the top of the circuit and the bottom of the circuit. Go to the balance charge, okay? So this is never gonna balance. It's probably never gonna fly that plane properly, which is a bummer because this was an expensive battery. Well, I mean, at the time it was an expensive battery. I'm sure it's probably not worth much now. This is another cautionary tell. Okay, charged for years. This plies my Twin Otter just fine. I don't have actual problems with these things. They're very good packs in my experience, but look how puffy they are. Not good. Not the safest thing you can do is leaving lipos charged, okay, folks? So we're gonna plug that in. You'll notice that it's pretty close to being balanced, okay? Now this one you could go to balance and it would probably balance that out just fine. But I'm not going to waste your time on that because it really doesn't matter. The whole point of showing you that is just to show you that when you get the smart packs, and I was the first naysayer in the group, but look, these things are perfectly flat, perfectly flat, 0 puffing. And I really hope, and I've been told by a number of people that the Spektrum batteries are the best. And I'm not saying E-Flight, I'm saying Spektrum, okay? Obviously, they're all the same mother company, but the Spektrum brand, which are expensive, are the best ones that they make. And they also offer other packs like Venom and Onyx. And of course, they got the E-Flight branded stuff. I've had the worst luck with the E-Flight stuff, but I also have some E-Flight packs that are still living and working fine today. So just take it for what it's worth. I love those Onyx packs in my Turbo, or in my, Cessna Citation Longitude UMX, also known as a Citation Longitude. I just add the Cessna for extra flair. So this thing is awesome. It's really good. It complements the other charging setup perfectly, and I really like it. And it's also very economical. Definitely seriously consider getting this. Keep your little voltage charge, voltage alarms, they're fine, but just we'll pause it and we'll show you why they're not so good. Okay, so this is why this tool is superior for testing your batteries. And to be honest with you, I didn't know it until I got it. I got it because I wanted the features. And the features are pretty awesome. Okay, so 3 cells, all is 12.6. Cell 1 is 4.19, cell 2 is 4.18, cell 3 is 4.24. Interesting. So this pack is bad, but I thought it was a new pack. Okay, I'm not saying that these all do that, but I'm saying that several of mine have done it. And it's generally when they get hooked up backward a few times or they get crashed in an airplane a few times. This is still plenty good to tell you when you get a low voltage, unless your top cell is actually sagging and you don't know it. So, pins down, plug it in. Okay, interesting, look at that. This thing begs to differ. Do you see that? Mm-hmm. That's not 4.24, is it? And look how close they are. Okay? Yeah. Now 12.6 was fine, the nominal range was fine. But I just wanted you to see that this thing will test better than this. Now, granted, this, I think I spent all of $3 on this thing, so it's very cheap. And this thing is it like 40-ish? I don't know. You'll just have to check the link. If you're watching this in 2 years, it might be more, it might be less. I don't know. Maybe it's on sale by the time you watch it. But either way, these things have their place. They're very nice. They're very small. This one's not that much bigger. Obviously, you're not going to stick that in a plane. Unless you have a really big plane. That'd be kind of cool. But anyway, so that thing, check the link, get one. Trust me on this. And you guys buy a lot of stuff that I recommend. This would be the thing. If you don't buy these packs, you could still buy this thing because it's still awesome. Now, the primary function of this pack, okay, I'm going to lay this out of the way, is so that you can set up your batteries. I'm going to just demonstrate on a big battery so you can see that you do have to use an adapter for this process, which I don't really like that, but you're going to have to get this thing to use the chargers anyway. You can also build your own if you get these kits, okay? I got these kits for future use if I want to overhaul a plane. So check this out, guys. Plugging it in. 25.05, 107 degrees Fahrenheit. Seems a little bit off, but whatever. By the way, rule of thumb, 150 degrees. If it was 150 degrees, you would not be able to hold your hand on it. You would have the burn reflex, okay? So now that we look at this, you can see that it shows the 93%. That means this thing is discharging currently. That's cool, because I said it's a 10 days to start to discharge, and it's been about that long. Mm-hmm. So what I'm going to do is press the button. By the way, you can long press, it'll take you back. Short press brings you in. You get all those different choices. You can hit back. See that? Double click. Okay. Now I'm going to press and hold that, and then look at this. Auto storage. It's another menu you didn't even know existed. Auto storage can be set to a variety of different things. Okay. Oh, dang it. Sorry, guys. There we go. Are we going to have to do the thing we do? Yes. See? It didn't reboot because it wasn't plugged in. See, either one of these is going to power the device. Let's see if we can just plug this in. Long press. There we go. Okay. You can see how many hours you can set it to as low as 12 hours. So you have it discharge automatically after 48 hours. So like you plug it in, you charge it on a Friday. You don't get a chance to fly on the weekend because that's the only time you fly. Then it goes ahead and goes into storage mode. What is storage mode, camera crew?
Lowering the voltage
come
so
over
that
here.
it's in better chemistry.
So you can also turn it off if you're not wanting it to discharge, okay? So I'm gonna set it to 240 hours. Storage volts, you can set all the way down to 3.6 volts, which is really nice. So like if you really wanna be nice to your cells, I prefer 3.8. And then the charge current you can set here, and then as soon as you plug it into your charger, it's gonna know what it needs to be set to. So if you wanna charge this at 3C, you can do this up to 3C, it'd be 9.6 amps. I charge mine at basically, I was at 3.3, I wanted it at 3.2 amps. Okay, 3.2 amps, meaning 3,200 milliamp hours is the same as 3.2 amps. Milli means 1,000, okay, or 1,000. Then I'm gonna charge it to 4.2 volts. But you know what? You can actually charge it to a different voltage if you want, which is a little goofy as well. Okay, 4.2 is where I want it to go. Now, why would you not do 4.2 volts, camera crew?
Why would you not?
Because some of the chargers that really suck bad can't keep up with the power. So if you set it to 4.2, then the charger's always fighting to get the chemistry all the way up to 4.2. So if you go to like 4.18, then it will struggle less. That's just my take on it. I have not had any problems with these smart chargers. They're very good at getting up to 4.2 volts, and they balance them really nicely every time. That was part of the reason why I went with this stuff, because I was having problems with my old $50 charger that I'd used for years, and it worked great for many, many years. In fact, they still work, but why would I use them if I have these awesome ones? So anyway, then there's this exception record, which I believe is something like, you know, like a list of problems or something. I don't know what it is. I don't even care what it is. So there it tells you your information. Now it's set to charge. See a little gas station pump? That's going to tell you how fast it's going to automatically charge. So now let's go ahead and unplug from this. So we set this to 240 hours, and we set it to charge at 3.2 amps. So what we'll do is we'll walk over here. Sorry, I got my transmitter in the way. If you want to walk over here, this is how I set up the charging station. It works really nicely. I am still actually using my little adapters here, just because I have my breakout boards here, these balanced charge boards. But over here, when I want to charge something fast, I've got these big power supplies. I got 2 of them. I really like the power switch, which is funny because you wouldn't think that'd be a feature, but to me it actually is a feature because I hate unplugging and plugging in the plugs every time. It's really annoying. But anyway, so we're going to turn them on. I can walk up. I've already got my adapters on these, so they're ready to rock and roll. Once this thing starts up, this, if you don't remember from the previous video, is the S1200. This is the S1500. So you can charge these things at up to 500 watts, which is pretty crazy, and up to 200 watts, okay? These things, these 30 amp power supplies are capable of mucho wattage, okay? Just so you know, 30 amps to be specific, 30 amps at up to 18 volts DC, okay? So I'm gonna plug this in. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Then I'm gonna plug in the balance charge. Pins, the little pins go down. Okay. And then look how hard this is to set up. Start. Boom. It's charging at 3.2 amps. It's going to slow charge. It's going to bring up slowly. It's going to increase slowly. That gives the system a chance. And then look over here, camera crew. Sorry, the lighting is going to be horrible on this video because always go into these backlit things. See how it's bringing up? 17.2 volts, 4.7 amps, and we're up to 3.2. Okay, we're at 4.8 amps at 17 volts. That's going into here. Now, just for grins and giggles, let's see if we can stop this charge. And let's go in here and go to the current, and let's just crank it all the way up. Kind of annoying to have to do that, isn't it? Start. Watch how much current it draws now. There's going to be a cooling fan kick on in just a second now. So basically we're at 4.9, 5.1. We're going to go all the way up to 8 amps, so this is probably going to be closer to 10. There's your cooling fan kick on. So we're at 8.4. Ooh, you know why it stopped? It's probably getting so close to the end that it slowed down. Dang it. As usual, I can't demonstrate what I want to demonstrate because it's all charged and ready to go. So at any rate, I'm going to stop this charge, and then I want to show you what happens the next time we walk up to the charger and we plug this in. Okay? So let's show you what happens when you don't plug the balance charge in. Go ahead and plug this in. Shows you your data on your cells. Shows you the temperature, 93 degrees. You can click. You can start. Okay? Current. It's not supported because you have to have the balance. You have to have the balance charge port plugged in, and you also have to have the discharge port plugged in. And look at the 3200 milliamps. Okay, so when we hit start, now it's going to attempt to charge it. Now, because it's fully charged or mostly fully charged, it's going to kind of take its sweet time to get up. But the idea is you don't have to keep setting the 3.2 amps, which is really nice. It's not really a big deal until you're doing a lot of different packs, okay? So at this point, I'm just gonna go ahead and stop this and we'll unplug it. And I just keep this stuff set up like this, and when I'm done, it's easy, it's quick. I like that because I don't have a lot of time to spend on this stuff. So these smart packs have been a huge blessing so far. I mean, it saves a lot of time and effort, and then I can still use all my balance breakout boards. And then over here, we've got the S2100. Again, charging non-smart packs like this. And it's a dual charger. I really like this charger. There's also one that's gonna be coming out here pretty quick. I don't know if it's in stock yet, but it's just got a single channel on it. I like the dual channel way more because you can use these in bias, and you can actually, instead of just having 100 watts on one charger and the other simultaneously, you can bias them. I think they're saying you can go up to 180, but maybe it's 200. I don't know. It says 100. There's two of them. Maybe it's 200. But either way, one thing I don't like about these is that when you're in a quiet room, which rarely happens with 4 kids, you start charging and then all of a sudden these cooling fans kick in and you're like, what the heck was that? Once you get used to it, it's no big deal. But for the moment, that is my only complaint. And then there's also a beep setting that has driven us nuts. I'm gonna show you how to change that. We've obviously changed it. So I stop this. I wanna go to the menu. Task, whoops. Where do we do that? I forget where we do that. Maybe long press, there you go. So the backlight's set to high. The touch sensitivity is set to high. The USB charge is on. The volume is set to high. I'm gonna turn it to off, and I'm gonna turn it back to high. So, I don't know what the deal is there. The split display is automatic, and then the completion tone is on repeat. I'll put it to single, okay? So then you're basically ready to rock and roll, and you can do this so that it's only gonna beep once. Now, the rationale behind the continuous beep is that when your batteries are done and you have broken all safety protocols and walked away, which nobody ever does that, then you'll hear it beep as you walk back into the room, which you should not do that. I don't talk about safety a lot, guys, because I don't feel like I need to preach to you. You guys are competent enough to figure this stuff out on your own. You can risk your life if you want. You can risk your family's life if you want, but I wouldn't recommend it. The only thing that you really have to worry about in terms of safety in this hobby is twofold, at least as it pertains to what I get into. That is, props can cut you, and they will. So be careful. I've been cut a few times, usually from like stupid little minor mistakes. I've never been cut by a big prop, but some people have had their hands cut up pretty bad. Don't do that. And then 2, lipos can catch on fire, and they can burn your house down. They can hurt your family. So be real careful with that stuff. If you have smart packs, you're going to be making a really big step toward avoiding that type of thing. Okay, like I said, running into people, running into cars and houses and windows and things like this, that can be largely avoided by just not flying by them. Of course, we don't do that, as you know. But the thing is, I can tell you from personal experience, I've crashed into a lot of things and people never hurt anybody. But I don't want to stick my hand into a 15-inch prop on the carbon Z cup because then I'm going to be in the hospital. So the last thing I want to show you before we go, this is the entry level echelon, okay? This is what you're going to get if you're really just like budget, doing ready to fly stuff. This is the S150, okay? Yes, it has a cooling fan. If you're getting a charger and it doesn't have a cooling fan, there's a good possibility it was made in China and it's crappy. So, I mean, a lot of this stuff was made in China anyway. So we're gonna plug this in. It comes with a nice, robust power supply for AC, okay? If you don't wanna use an AC power supply, yes, you can actually inject DC voltage, but you have to be able to provide DC voltage that's satisfactory. In this case, the input voltage is 19 to 24 volts, okay? The output voltage is 17.4 volts at 0.1 through 5 amps, okay? So what that tells you is that if you are going to, I have an outlet down here, guys. I'm not falling off the chair yet. What that tells you is that you can charge at different rates, and this is very simple. So I'm going to show you this. If you don't want to do a smart charger because you're trying to save a dime, that's fine, but I'm going to warn you, you might prefer to just get one that's going to do all the stuff you need to do, okay? So you can take this, you can plug this sucker in here. You see how they're keyed. You have to warn me if you don't get focus in time, okay? So this is gonna know what type of battery it is, and it's gonna know a charge rate. You can change it by pressing the button briefly. And then you can start it, or actually that's gonna change the battery type. And you wanna be on LiPo, because this is a Turnigy LiPo, okay? And then I think we're probably gonna have to plug it in. So I'm just gonna, I have adapters made, but for the sake of showing you how this works, we'll just go ahead and use the Smart Pack. But this does work on non-Smart Packs just fine. Okay, balance charge. And plug this in. And then I forget exactly how you know if it's going. I think it's charged. Oh, it's flashing. Okay. So once it starts flashing, of course, like I said, the tale of not having it set up right, I would need an adapter to go from XT60 to EC3, or you could use IC3, but an IC3 is not going to be necessary because you don't need the pin if it's not a Smart Pack. The extra pin in the middle is unnecessary, and it may also preclude you from plugging it in. So just know that. All right, guys, this is the alternative for people that are just getting into it. It's a lot cheaper. You don't have to have all the bells and whistles, but I can tell you right now, this is really nice. Okay, if you're not ready for this, I understand if you need to spend $7 because you're on a tight budget. Just don't worry. In like 2 or 3 years, you're going to be blowing money like this. Just mark my words. And you're going to be happy to do it too. So this is the S150. It does come with the power supply. That's a big thing because like those suckers over there are expensive. You know, they're like over $100. So, but if you want to charge fast and you want to charge a lot at the time, you know, when you're getting ready to fly and you don't want to wait around for this thing to take, you know, 40 minutes to charge, then you can do it really fast with those things. So that's what I'm going to show you today. Of course, this is the box for the S150. The thing that's really nice about this, by the way, is that you're going to be able to take care of your smart packs, but you don't have to get real complicated. So if you have somebody that's maybe not super techy, but they still would like to take advantage of the smart technology, then this would be a good way to start. So that being said, those chargers may also work well because you can plug them in and they just know what to do, and then you just press start too. It's very easy. Camera crew, do you have anything to add to that?
I think that covers it. It's been a big change, but
I like it better because they're prettier.
Yeah, when they're in your kitchen, because your wife is super awesome and lets you have stuff like that in your kitchen.
That's right.
They do look a little nicer. You can tell her that.
They look a lot nicer.
They do.
And the other thing too is like my breakout boards, I would like to redo those just because they would look a lot cooler if they were maybe not quite so ugly.
Well, and safety wise too, they're in the main living space. It's not like they're down in the basement or out in the garage. We can see what's happening. If
Out in
there
the
would
garage
be-
would probably be better if you were able to have them out in the garage and not like next to your fuel storage.
Yeah.
But we have granite and it's thick. So if you're gonna have a fire, if you've ever seen a lithium polymer, lithium ion battery burn, they burn fast and they off gas like crazy.
Yeah.
And so like this 2200 milliamp 4S pack, this is a smart pack, probably wouldn't be a good one to use as an example. This 3000 that's all puffed up, if you were to drive a nail through this, it would gas up this room and it would fill it up. Now, it's gonna make a small fireball very quick and then it's gonna be burned out, but it's just the gas is gonna blow out. The gas is flammable, so you don't really want that to happen. But anybody who has had one of these go questionably bad in a crash, they get bent or whatever, that's usually what we would do, is get safety geared up when we drive a nail through them. That's not recommended, by the way. But you do need to get these things discharged before you can throw them away safely. And you do want to check with your local, your waste management company, whatever it is that you use for waste management, and they'll tell you how to properly dispose of these so that you're safe. I mean, I haven't gone through that many packs like to where they're just totally gone.
Mm-mm.
Maybe like 10 total. And I mean,
Maybe that's probably, it would be a lot too.
Hundreds of lipos.
Yeah.
So I've never had a fire from one. I know people have. There's horror stories. We've had some people on YouTube that have had fires. So be careful. Be safe out there, guys. Avoid the COVID and the lipo fires by doing this. Get some good stuff. You'll be happier. This battery is going to cost you double what one of these is going to cost you or more. But you know what's nice about that is this thing's going to be twice as good and it's going to probably last twice as long.
Yeah.
Seriously. So if you got the money to buy a couple of packs, maybe just buy one good, which I can't believe I'm even saving that, but the headaches you'll have will be greatly reduced if you get good batteries. Seriously, guys, that's coming from Mr. Cheapskate himself. Just ask my wife. She'll tell you. All right, guys, smart technology, it is smart. I was not an early adopter, but I am now. So you'll probably see some more of it. And the other thing too is the smart ESCs have some additional helpful telemetry. I'm not big on telemetry, but there are times when I would like to have telemetry. Usually it's on the Vario side for when I'm doing sailplanes for thermaling, but Vario tells you change in barometric pressure for altitude gain or loss. In case you weren't sure about what that was, camera crew, I can see that you're like, what? All right, come back for more, guys. We literally have so much in store that I couldn't go over it in at least 5 minutes. So we're not gonna do that. That'd be a huge waste of time, not like the rest of this video. Come back.